Alright, so we're going to do a quick video on weight painting and bone extrusion. Starting off, obviously once you import your model, you're going to want to use cats to fix the model and then fix for full body if you are using full body. But back over here, we're going to go ahead and re-enable the armature view. So starting off, obviously to get into weight painting, you want to hit pose mode, select a bone, and you're going to allow it to hit pose position. This is going to later allow you to play with that bone and see what it's doing, like how it's moving and whatnot. So let's get right into the meat of it. So select the bone you want to work with, then select the model. Down in this bottom left, you'll hit weight paint, and you can see what sections what that bone works with. So going back into object mode, selecting that bone, let's just put that on to rotate down there. We can see that it moves that section. I'm going to hit Control Z to put it back in its spot. So let's go ahead and remove that bit of weight painting. If you go back up to Tools here, you can see your brush options here. The weight value, I usually use 1. Change the size. You want to make sure that this is set to mix. You can obviously use these others. I prefer mix. I haven't played with the others or really done much of anything. I just kind of imagine that, we're going to test subtract. It does what I thought. It subtracts that. Switch it back to add. It's going to add that. No idea what blur, lighten, darken do. If I hit mix though, it kind of does the same thing as add there. So let's actually just say we're going to make this have a weight of 0 right here real quick. And go back to object mode, select that bone pose mode, and when we move it, you can see that those have become no longer weight painted. Control Z to go back into, right click that, and then go back into weight paint. I'm going to hit Control Z a couple times just to get back to the point where it was all painted. And we're going to go into another topic. This little button right here, vertex selection. This allows you to select which vertices you want to affect with a certain bone. So I'm going to unclick that. I'm going to go back to object mode, right click here, hit tab a couple times just to make sure. I'm going to make it to where I see all of the vertices. So I said we're not going to limit it, we're just going to have them all active. I'm going to select a certain area. I'm just going to say right here. Okay, so that's selected. Hit tab to get out of edit mode. Click that bone again. Click the model, and we're going to go back into weight paint. It should be noted that once you click this, don't right click again because you'll lose this selection. If you uncheck that though, it goes back to this view, which you can then right click another bone to see its vertices and right click and move around. So we're just going to go ahead and hit that button now again. Now if you notice when I try to weight paint anywhere else, it will not go on. Now if I move that weight up, again, not going on. Take it back down to 0. It only affects these vertices. And it's also good to make sure that you have this not set to limit so that you can actually see the vertices through the model. This just goes ahead and gets it on all sides, gets those vertices that you may miss. And so that basically finishes off that. That's how you do selective area weight painting. Now if you watch what I'm going to do here, I'm going to make, let's just say I make this shoulder up here. Move this arm. And putting that weight painting on. Go back to object mode. We're going to grab that shoulder. See how it's now connected like that. Stick that back. Go back into the section. Hit Control Z to get out of that. And go back to object mode and then hit tab, hit A to deselect everything, and that's basically how you do fine-tune weight painting. Now let's say you want to do like the neck fix. We're going to go ahead and select the head bone go back into here, go into weight paint, and now on this top right you can see we have modifiers. Let's say we want to get all of the weights from the neck onto the head, since we're just going to make that bone really small and move the head down. You can do this with other bones as well and add them, get them to share some weights as well. You can up to add modifier, vertex, weight, mix. Find the vertex group that these are attached to, like for this it's head. Select that. The vertex group B is going to be neck. So mix mode is going to be add. Mix set will be all. And now the head, when you hit apply, will get the weight painting that the neck contained. And that's an easy way of doing that. So I'm not actually going to do the modifier here. I'm going to go back to object mode. Another thing you can do is parent-based weights. So let's say I've got some hair strands down here. You know, I don't really care about these bows being a separate entity. Hit tab on the bones, go into that edit mode. Under cats, there's an option in here. I believe it's model options. You have this to parent with the bones selected. If I hit that, boom, bone's gone, and the weights are now on its parent bone. We're gonna do the same thing for these other ones here real quick. To parent. Take that one and do to parent. And then lastly, to parent. Okay, so all of those are taken care of. Now if we get out of the bone edit mode, back into pose mode, we're gonna grab this parent bone right here. We're just gonna go back into pose mode. Select it, please, thank you. And you can see that it's affecting those. It actually already held some of those weights and would have done that anyway. But you can see that there's a way to delete the bones without losing their weights if you want to optimize for VRChat, which isn't necessarily a bad idea, but doesn't have to be done either. Now finally we're going to get into an interesting topic, and this is bone extrusion. So we're going to hit tab and go into edit bones. We're going to select the bone that you want to extrude from. Get a fairly lined up straight image. There we go. Okay. So our XYZ, it just makes this more easy to work with if you do it in those 3 coordinate axes. But now with that selected, we're going to hit Shift E and then drag the direction we want this bone to go. I'm just going to remake one of those bows. And we're going to say, okay, that's finished. We're going to hit select that bone again, and we're going to hit Control P. We're going to make that the parent. Now we're going to hit tab again to get back into this, into pose mode, and hit Control P again. Now this, I sometimes have some funkiness go on. I usually try with automatic weights. That sometimes doesn't work. So you have to keep hitting Control P till you get one that maybe with envelope weights, with empty groups. One of these two should work, automatic weights or with envelope weights. Now if I go back to pose this bone, we can see that it does nothing. So we're still with that bone selected in pose mode, and we're just going to go ahead and select this model, hit tab. I'm just going to select this bow right there. Now I'm going to hit tab again, make sure we come to weight paint. We can see that that's the section selected and the bone selected, and we see that there's no weight painting to it. So go up to tools, weight, make sure it's there. And we're going to go ahead and weight paint this other upper bone. Get that all good and colored in. Make sure I did it on the other side. Even though I've got see-through enabled, sometimes it doesn't like to grab all of them. But now that that is done, we're going to go back to object mode. hit that, and then when we move it, oh look, it once again did not work. So I'm going to try with envelope weights. Nothing. Try with empty groups. Nothing again. So that's where I gotta go look at the bone braid 5.001. We're gonna go ahead, and this is where it gets interesting. And even I still have trouble with. I think I have to go. Oh, I know what it is. This is important. You have to first select the model and then shift right click the bone and then hit Control P. So now when I try with automatic weights, I had a bone heat weighting failed, blah blah blah, find solution. Didn't work. Hit Control Z from that movement, hit Control P again with empty groups. Still nothing. Actually look at the white painting again real quick. See, with empty groups it de-weight painted it. So if you go back in and recolor it, having the model selected first and then shift right clicking the bone is detrimental to this process of extruding a new bone. Now if we go back into object mode, we see that I get this to move. And it's not moving as stringently because its weights are still connected to this bone. So watch this. If I go into weight paint mode, I'm going to set this down to 0. Decolor that selected vertex section. Make sure we get it nice and decolored. Then go back into object mode, select that bone again. So it's still got some weights somewhere. I just don't know where exactly. But you can see it's starting to move a little more freely and more correctly. Let's see. This is where we can go back into weight paint, unselect this, and start clicking around some bones just to see what's maybe holding on to it. Part of me believes that that bone is trying to move a bit of this and it's not liking it. Yeah, I think that's what's going on. So well, no. I think there's one other thing I need to do. Object mode, select that one, hit tab. No longer connected. Now let's try pose. It's getting closer, but select that, weight paint. 100. I think I see what it is. So what I'm gonna have to do here is actually move the edge of this bone. We're gonna scale this bone down a little bit. And move it just out here a little bit closer to the edge of that point. And then go back to pose mode and we're going to try rotating that. And it's a little better, but we're going to try one more thing with automatic weights. No. Empty groups. And the bone's not always perfect to how far it's moving. Like if I do this arm, that one hangs on to it, but the weight painting is there. Just you have to mess with it to get it perfect. And I don't have an exact answer here as to why it's doing that. Oh, yes, I do know why it's doing that. Okay. So for that disconnect to not occur, you have to have just a little bit of weight painting on this bone right there onto that bow tie. So what we're going to do here to solve that issue is we're going to go ahead and go back into weight paint mode, and we're just going to 100% those edges right there, those couple selected vertices. Now another thing we can do to find out what all is affecting these vertices is hit tab, right click on the vertices, and we can see what vertex groups are affecting it. So it looks like for some reason the head is doing something to it. Braid 5. Okay. And close exit mode. If you saw there, I deleted one of the ones that just seemed kind of weird to be holding it. You'll have to do this for all of those vertices. So the way you do that, since we know it was the head that was stuck on it, if we go up to the head, there we go. Let's select model, go back into weight paint. We can see that it's weight painted to that. I forgot to select those vertices. Go back into object mode real quick. Control L. And then out of that, weight paint, take those all to 0. Object mode. Now it is more uniformly following this bone correctly. And that is how you extrude and weight paint a bone. Remember, you want to have a little bit weight painted to the connecting parent bone, or just the parent bone in general, otherwise you'll have that separation occur. But now we can see that it doesn't separate when this bone is moving. And those are the general basics to weight painting. You can play with the weight mixes and things like that. Other than that, everything should be good to go.